here's Brody Brazil.
I really do appreciate all the best questions and comments and contributions that you've been calling in to 1-833-4-BRODY. That number goes straight to voicemail, where you leave an outstanding message. I get to listen to all of them and then respond to the very best ones.
Hey, Brody. This is James calling you from between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland.
All right.
And the whole situation with the Baltimore Orioles and the Washington Nationals got me really thinking about something close to your heart, which is the situation with the San Francisco Giants and the formerly Oakland A's. Because you see, we obviously have cities like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago that are huge metro areas that can support two teams. No one in baseball seems to question that.
Right.
For some reason, baseball has decided, the San Francisco Bay Area only needs one team, not just two. Yet, exactly 20 years ago, baseball apparently decided that a market like Baltimore and Washington, which only had one team in Baltimore,
right,
could handle a second team to cover Washington. So how is that any different than the Bay Area, where you have one team to cover San Francisco, the Peninsula, North Bay, and then another for kind of the East Bay further into Northern California side? Why has baseball decided that apparently it was so important to put a second team in an area that already had one team in Maryland and Washington, D.C. 20 years ago, so important that they uprooted a team from another city to take it there.
Right.
But apparently Oakland can't handle a team for a whole separate section of the Bay Area, when just like Washington and Baltimore, it's one metro area, but it's two separate sections and fandom cultures within that area.
Correct.
Anyway, just curious if that's something you'll think about and thinking how baseball might have seen this and why it seems like there was such an opposite opinion and a little bit of hypocrisy on that issue.
James, I think you're also suggesting contradiction and double standards, and I really do appreciate the call. You sound like an Orioles fan, because that fan base, was probably most impacted by the Montreal Expos becoming the Washington Nationals in the, early to mid 2000s. Like, the Orioles fans are saying, wait, you're just jumping into our market to carve out your own fan base and maybe take some of our growth and fan base away. So certainly that has been a controversy and a drama over the last several decades. I just want to answer this straight away at the start of the video, at least my response to it. I don't think Major League Baseball will ever take one city and make it a two-team market ever again. I think that the Orioles and Nats are the last time ever that baseball is going to put a second team, and I say in one region. I can't say one city. I realize it's the DMV, right? It's the District of Columbia, Maryland, and the state of Virginia. That's kind of the region's name. But you will never see baseball put a second team in the same region where there's an existing team. I want to talk about sharing cities, and especially the Orioles-Nats thing. There was that rush to move the Expos out of Montreal. Fair or not, I don't take any pride in saying that, but baseball was really trying to get the Expos out of Quebec, and they tried different sites in the United States. They thought about Puerto Rico, but ultimately Washington, D.C. had one big thing. They had RFK Stadium, which was not great, which was definitely antiquated even in the early and mid-2000s. Heck, I went to an A's-Nats game. I covered a series there in 2006, and RFK Stadium was not great, but it was good enough. It was a landing spot immediately for the team, right? Because where else can you just uproot the Expos and plant them down somewhere else if you don't have a proper market and a stadium? And I'm sure being in the nation's capital also kind of greased the wheels a little bit of Major League Baseball to make this happen. But it was the fact that DC had a stadium where the Nats could play. It also came with the promise that they would build a brand new one sooner than later. So there were a lot of just things that fit the urgency of baseball. I'm not saying that was fair in retrospect. I'm just saying that's how baseball was looking at this problem, this situation that they were also part of creating. But the Orioles greatly contested the move. And in fact, up until March of 2025, they had a conflict of television rights and deals in that media market. The Orioles owned the Nationals television rights until new Orioles ownership said, fine, we're done with this in March of 2025. There have been legal challenges. There have been a lot of disparaging things said both ways back and forth. this battle of the Beltway, like, it has come with some tension because baseball plopped the Nats in what was kind of an existing Orioles region. I just want to state this again. No way baseball's ever going to take another city. Like, they've already got Los Angeles and even Orange County and Chavez Ravine separated by a certain distance and degree. In New York, they're a lot closer. In Chicago, it's geographically the north side and the south side. But never again is baseball going to say, hey, Dallas, here's your second Major League Baseball team. Hey, wherever you're getting it. Even region, not even city, even region is not going to get a second Major League team. And I think to the point here of the message and the call in our conversation, baseball looks at this now and says, well, not only is it a competition for business, but really, don't we want to spread out our teams? And isn't one team per region good enough? Now, I would argue that fact. Los Angeles is big enough to have the Angels and Dodgers. The Bay Area was big enough. And we proved that here in Northern California to have the A's and Giants successfully so long as both teams were trying. When one team stopped trying, like after the 90s, and stopped trying to compete and stopped really trying to build a ballpark, didn't know how to do that to compete with what the Giants were doing across the Bay, then it became very much unfair, unstable, and people would point the finger and say that region can't support it. This region absolutely could support it so long as both franchises were competent and capable, not just one of them. But Rob Manfred's comment within the last year in saying about the Bay Area that, well, it's not a big deal that the A's are leaving because, quote, the Giants obviously still play there. I mean, if you're a White Sox fan, if you're a Mets fan, if you're an Angels fan, if you're the fan of that other team, and I don't want to say between the Orioles and the Nats that there is that other team dynamic, really, but if you're that second tier considered team, and I don't even feel right saying that because sometimes the second team is the better team or it's the right one to root for. If you're that other team, not that higher profile team, is your fan base always going to be in jeopardy? Like, should you always be wondering and worrying, like, are we going to be the team that gets moved out of here? Does baseball really feel like, well, we can do away with the second team because, hey, New York is still served by the Yankees. The Dodgers are still the Los Angeles is still served by the Dodgers, and Chicago will always have the Cubs. Is it really like that? So again, on two fronts, baseball's never going to put a second team in an existing region, but they're also seemingly never going to care about that second team's existence, and they're always going to think differently about it. So hopefully that makes sense. I get the hypocrisy here. I totally understand, like, how could the Expos have been moved to a place where there's two teams? And I don't know, the Nats and Orioles, they've done fine, but they're not the biggest market or biggest success teams in the last several decades since they've coexisted again. So was that even the right move? I'm not here to say it was or it wasn't, but interesting how baseball had no problem with that back then. They are not okay with it now. And all I can really answer to that is it was 20 years ago. Baseball was in a different time, had a different commissioner with a totally different mindset. I just don't see this happening ever again. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Will Major League Baseball ever create a brand new two-team single market? Also, thumbs up down there helps me, this video, and this channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I would love to see you back here next time.